Toto jumped out of Dorothy's arms and hid under the bed, and the girls started to get him. Aunt Em, badly frightened, threw open the trap door in the floor and climbed down the ladder into the small, dark hole. Dorothy caught Toto at last and started to follow her aunt. When she was halfway across the room, there came a great shriek from the wind, and the house shook so hard that she lost her footing and sat down suddenly upon the floor. Then a strange thing happened. The house whirled around 2 or 3 times and rose slowly through the air. Dorothy felt as if she were going up in a balloon.
I am anxious to get back to my aunt and uncle, for I am sure they will worry about me. Can you help me find my way?
The Munchkins and the witch looked first at one another and then at Dorothy, and then shook their heads.
At the east, not far from here,
said one.
There is a great desert and none can live to cross it.
It is the same as the south,
said another.
For I have been there and seen it. The south is the country of the Quadlings.
I am told,
said the third man,
that it is the same as the west, and that country where the Winkies live is ruled by the wicked witch of the west, who'd make you her slave if you passed her way.
The north is my home, said the old lady, and at its edge is the same great desert that surrounds this land of Oz. I'm afraid, my dear, you will have to live with us. Dorothy began to sob at this, for she felt lonely among all these strange people. Her tears seemed to grieve the kind-hearted Munchkins, for they immediately took out their handkerchiefs and began to weep also. As for the little old woman, she took off her cap and balanced the point on the end of her nose, while she counted 1, 2, 3 in a solemn voice. At once the cap changed to slate, on which was written in big white chalk marks, "Let Dorothy go to the City of Emeralds."
I cannot understand why you should wish to leave this beautiful country and go back to the dry, grey place you call Kansas.
That is because you have no brains. No matter how dreary and grey our homes are, we people of flesh and blood would rather live there than any other country. Be it ever so beautiful, there's no place like home.
Of course I cannot understand it. If your heads were stuffed with straw, like mine, you would probably all live in the beautiful places, and then Kansas would have no people at all. It's fortunate for Kansas that you have brains.
Won't you tell me a story while we are resting?
My life has been so short that I really know nothing whatever. I was only made day before yesterday. What happened in the world before that time is all unknown to me. Luckily, when the farmer made my head, one of the first things he did was to paint my ears so that I heard what was going on. There was another munchkin with him, and the first thing I heard was the farmer saying, "Oh, do you like those ears?" "They aren't straight," answered the other. "Never mind," said the farmer. "They are ears just the same," which was true enough. "Now I'll make the eyes," said the farmer. So he painted my right eye, and as soon as it was finished, I found myself looking at him and at everything around me with a great deal of curiosity, for this was my first glimpse of the world. "That's a rather pretty eye," remarked the munchkin who was watching the farmer. "Blue paint is just the colour for eyes." "I think I'll make the other a little bigger," said the farmer, and when the second eye was done, I could see much better than before. Then he made my nose and my mouth, but I did not speak, because at that time I did not know what a mouth was for. I had the fun of watching them make my body and my arms and legs, and when they fastened on my head at last, I felt very proud, for I thought I was just as good as man as anyone. "This scallop fellow will scare the crows fast enough," said the farmer. "He looks just like a man."
One of the big trees had been partly chopped through, and standing beside it, with an uplifted axe in his hand, was a man made entirely of tin. His head and arms and legs were jointed upon his body, but he stood perfectly motionless, as if he could not stir at all. Dorothy looked at him in amazement, and so did the Scarecrow, while Toto barked sharply and made a snap at the tin legs, which hurt his teeth.
Did you grow?
asked Dorothy.
"Yeah,"
answered the Tin Man.
"I did. I've been groaning for more than a year, and no one has ever heard me before or come to help me."
What can I do for you?
she inquired softly, for she was moved by the sad voice in which the man spoke.
"Get an oil can and oil my joints,"
he answered.
"They are rusted so badly that I cannot move them at all. If I'm well oiled, I'll soon be all right again. You'll find an oil can on a shelf in my cottage."
Dorothy at once ran back to the cottage and found the oil can, and then she returned and asked anxiously,
Where are your joints?
"Oil my neck first,"
replied the Tin Woodman. So she oiled it, and as it was quite badly rusted, the Scarecrow took hold of the tin head and moved it gently from side to side until it worked freely, and then the man could turn it himself.
"Now oil the joints in my arms."
And Dorothy oiled them, and the Scarecrow bent them carefully until they were quite free from rust and as good as new. Then Tin Woodman gave a sigh of satisfaction and lowered his axe, which he leaned against the tree.
"This is a great comfort. I've been holding that axe in the air ever since I rusted, and I'm glad to be able to put it down at last. Now if you only oil the joints of my legs, I shall be all right once more."
Then they oiled his legs until he could move them freely, and he thanked them again and again for his release.
Little Toto, now that he had an enemy to face, ran barking toward the lion, and the great beast had opened his mouth to bite the dog when Dorothy, fearing Toto would be killed, and heedless of danger, rushed forward and slapped the lion upon his nose as hard as she could, while she cried out,
Don't you dare bite Toto! You ought to be ashamed of yourself. A big beast like you to bite a poor little dog.
I didn't bite him, said the lion, as he rubbed his nose with his paw where Dorothy had hit it.
No, but you tried to,
she retorted.
You are nothing but a big coward.
I know it, said the lion, hanging his head in shame.
Even with eyes protected by green spectacles, Dorothy and her friends were at first dazzled by the brilliancy of the wonderful city. The streets were lined with beautiful houses, all built of green marble and studded everywhere with sparkling emeralds. They walked over a pavement of the same green marble, and where the blocks were joined together were rows of emeralds set closely and glittering in the brightness of the sun. The window panes were of green glass. Even the sky above the city had a green tint, and the rays of the sun were green. There were many people, men, women and children, walking about, and these were all dressed in green clothes and had greenish skins. They looked at Dorothy and her strangely assorted company with wondering eyes, and the children all ran away and hid behind their mothers when they saw the lion, but no one spoke to them. Many shops stood in the street, and Dorothy saw that everything in them was green. Green candy and green popcorn were offered for sale, as well as green shoes, green hats, and green clothes of all sorts. At one place, a man was selling green lemonade, and when the children bought it, Dorothy could see that they paid for it with green pennies. There seemed to be no horses nor animals of any kind. The men carried things around in little green carts, which they pushed before them. Everyone seemed happy and contented and prosperous.
Then a low, quiet voice came from the ball of fire, and these were the words it spoke.
I am Oz, the great and terrible. Who are you, and why do you seek me?
And the lion answered, I am a cowardly lion, afraid of everything. I came to you to beg that you give me courage, so that, in reality, I may become the king of beasts, as men call me.
Why should I give you courage?
Demanded Oz. Because of all wizards, you are the greatest, and alone have power to grant my request, answered the lion. The ball of fire burned fiercely for a time, and the voice said,
Bring me proof that the wicked witch is dead, and that moment I'll give you courage. But as long as the witch lives, you must remain a coward.
The lion was angry at this speech, but could say nothing in reply, and while he stood silently gazing at the ball of fire, it became so furiously hot that he turned tail and rushed from the room. He was glad to find his friends waiting for him, and told them of his terrible interview with the wizard.
What shall we do now?
Asked Dorothy sadly. There's only one thing we can do, returned the lion, and that is to go to the land of the Winkies and seek out the wicked witch and destroy her.
But suppose we cannot,
said the girl. Then I shall never have courage, declared the lion.
And I shall never have brains,
added the scarecrow.
and I shall never have an heart,
spoke the Tin Woodman.
And I would never see Aunt Em and Uncle Henry,
said Dorothy, beginning to cry.
But the wicked creature was very cunning. and she finally thought of a trick that would give her what she wanted. She placed an iron bar in the middle of the kitchen floor, and then by her magic arts made the iron invisible to human eyes, so that when Dorothy walked across the floor, she stumbled over the bar and, not being able to see it, fell at full length. She was not so much hurt, but in her fall, one of the silver shoes came off, and before she could reach it, the witch had snatched it away and put it on her own skinny foot. The wicked woman was greatly pleased with the success of her trick, for as long as she had one of the shoes, she owned half the power of their charm, and Dorothy could not use it against her, even had she known how to do so. The little girl, seeing that she had lost one of her pretty shoes, grew angry and said to the witch,
"Give me back my shoe!"
"I will not," retorted the witch, "for now it is my shoe and not yours."
"You are a wicked creature,"
cried Dorothy.
"You have no right to take my shoe from me."
"I shall keep it just the same," said the witch, laughing at her. "And someday I shall get the other one from you too." This made Dorothy so very angry that she picked up the bucket of water that stood near and dashed it all over the witch, wetting her from head to toe. Instantly, the wicked witch gave a loud cry of fear. And then, as Dorothy looked at her in wonder, the witch began to shrink and fall away. "See what you have done!" she screamed. "In a minute I shall melt away."
"I am very sorry indeed,"
said Dorothy, who was truly frightened to see the witch actually melting away like brown sugar before her very eyes. "Didn't you know water would be the end of me?" asked the witch in a wailing, despairing voice.
"Of course not,"
answered Dorothy.
"How should I?"
"Well, in a few minutes I shall be all melted, and you will have the castle to yourself. I have been wicked in my day, but I never thought a little girl like you would ever be able to melt me and end my wicked deeds. Look out! Here I go!"
Dorothy looked inside the golden cap and saw some words written upon the lining. These, she thought, must be the charm, so she read the directions carefully and put the cap upon her head.
"Epi peppy keki,"
She said, standing on her left foot.
What did you say?
Asked the Scarecrow, who did not know what she was doing.
"Hello, hello, hello,"
Dorothy went on, standing this time on her right foot.
Hello.
Replied the Tin Woodman calmly.
"Zizzy, zazzy, zick,"
Said Dorothy, who was now standing on both feet. This ended the saying of the charm, and they heard a great chattering and flapping of wings as the band of winged monkeys flew up to them.
I am Oz, the great and terrible.
said the little man in a trembling voice.
But don't strike me, please don't, and I'll do anything you want me to.
Our friends looked at him in surprise and dismay,
I thought Oz was a great head.
said Dorothy,
And I thought Oz was a lovely lady.
said the Scarecrow,
And I thought Oz was a terrible beast.
said the Tin Woodman,
No, you are all wrong.
said the little man meekly.
I have been making believe.
Making believe?
Cried Dorothy,
Are you not a great wizard?
Hush, my dear.
he said.
Don't speak so loud, or you will be overheard, and I should be ruined. I am supposed to be a great wizard.
And aren't you?
She asked.
Not a bit of it, my dear. I'm just a common man.
You're more than that.
said the Scarecrow in a grieved voice.
You're a humbug.
Exactly so.
Declared the little man, rubbing his hands together as if it pleased him.
I am a humbug.
Glinda leaned forward and kissed the sweet upturned face of the loving little girl.
Bless your dear heart.
She said.
I'm sure I can tell you of a way to get back to Kansas.
Then she added,
But if I do, you must give me the golden cap.
Willingly.
exclaimed Dorothy.
Indeed, it is of no use to me now. And when you have it, you can command the winged monkeys 3 times.
And I think I shall need their service just those 3 times.
Dorothy then gave her the golden cap, and the witch said to the Scarecrow,
What will you do when Dorothy has left us?
I'll return to the Emerald City,
he replied.
for Oz has made me its ruler, and the people like me. The only thing that worries me is how to cross the hill of the Hammerheads.
By means of the golden cap, I shall command the winged monkeys to carry you to the gates of the Emerald City,
said Glinda.
for it would be a shame to deprive the people of so wonderful a ruler.
Am I really wonderful?
asked the Scarecrow.
You are unusual.
Replied Glinda. Turning to the Tin Woodman, she asked,
What will become of you when Dorothy leaves this country?
He leaned on his axe and thought for a moment. Then he said,
The Winkies were very kind to me and want me to rule over them after the Wicked Witch died. I am fond of the Winkies, and I could get back again to the country to the west. I should like nothing better than to rule over them forever.
My second command to the winged monkeys will be that they carry you safely to the land of the Winkies. Your brain may not be so large to look at as those of the Scarecrow, but you really are brighter than he is when you are well polished, and I am sure you will rule the Winkies wisely and well.
Then the witch looked at the big shaggy lion and asked,
When Dorothy has returned to her own home, what will become of you?
Over the hill of the Hammerheads, he answered, lies a grand old forest, and all the beasts that live there have made me their king. If I could only get back to this forest, I would pass my life very happily there.
My third command to the winged monkeys shall be to carry you to your forest. Then, having used up the powers of the golden cap, I shall give it to the king of the monkeys, that he and his band may thereafter be free for evermore.
The Scarecrow and the Tin Woodman and the lion now thanked the good witch earnestly for her kindness, and Dorothy exclaimed,
You are certainly as good as you are beautiful, but you have not yet told me how to get back to Kansas.
Your silver shoes will carry you over the desert. If you had known their power, you could have gone back to your Aunt Em the very first day you came to this country.
place like home.
There's no 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 place like home.
No hay lugar como casa.
There's no place like home.
Somewhere over the rainbow, blue birds fly. Birds fly over the rainbow, so why can't I? If happy little bluebirds fly away up on the chimney tops, then why, oh, why can't I?
Just do a test. Hello, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Rawr.
Ha ha ha, there's no place like home. No hay lugar como casa. Ha ha ha.
There was another munchkin with him, and the first thing I heard was the farmer saying, "Oh, do you like those ears? They aren't straight."
Sorry, I don't know about that bit.
There's no place like home.
There's no place like home.
I can't do this, I'm just laughing at myself. There is no place like home.
Willingly. Indeed it is of no use to me now. And when you have it, you can command the winged monkeys 3 times. P.
Try it again.
E.P. Peppy. Jackie.
Try again.
E.P. Pee. Jackie. Hello. Zick. Zizzy. Zuzzy. Zick.
Try again.
It's really hard.